I'm Christopher Sweat. This is Greystack Media. And I'm sitting here with Dylan and Demi. Dylan Blaha?
Yep.
Demi...
Palecek.
I need to remember that. Palecek. Okay. And you guys are two separate people, but obviously have some alignment. And maybe we can explore this through our discussion today, because I think we're going to get to talk about some things that aren't as commonly discussed in progressive politics, like things that have to do with the military and the National Guard. And obviously we're sitting here in Chicago at your campaign office. So I'll let you both introduce yourself first, and then we'll talk about what's going on.
Yeah. My name's Dylan Blaha. I'm a 13-year U.S. Army veteran and former cancer research scientist who is really just trying to make a difference in the world. And so I decided to run for Congress because I don't appreciate what Trump is doing right now, but I also think that the Democratic Party isn't really fighting for people in the way that they say they do. And so I'm trying to help rebuild a stronger Democratic Party to stand up to authoritarianism, but also to take on oligarchy as well.
I'm Demi Palecek. I am also running the 13th district, but for State House.
These are separate districts.
Separate
for anybody
districts.
that doesn't know that. Okay.
I'm a 14-year veteran. I'm still in the National Guard, started active duty Air Force, then transferred over to Army National Guard. And yeah, I'm running to be state representative in the 13th district. I also believe that, our government should be taking care of us, or at least fighting for us. And I've always been working class. I've been working since I was 14 years old to help my family make ends meet. My mom is an immigrant from Mexico and struggled with schizophrenia and bipolar. And my father was in Vietnam and struggled with alcoholism from there. So I've just always been working class, and I've never seen it get easier for anyone,
Sure.
Except for the rich, right? So I think that there's a lot that we can be doing. So I'm heavily invested in my community. So.
Okay. And I do have to say this, but thank you both for your service. I do mean that, because you did spend a lot of time there.
Thank you.
It's a part of your histories. Okay. So now, obviously Chicago has been kind of crazy lately. We've all been out there on the front lines in different ways. Maybe we can just start there. Typically, we all have friends or family that served in the military, and outspokenness is not maybe the typical nature of growing up in that world, I guess.
Yeah.
So maybe what's driving you, Dylan, and then Demi, maybe you can start to speak on that and we'll just discuss.
I think a lot of it is that I believe deep down that leaders have a obligation to educate the public and let people know when things are going wrong. And so I think it's important. At the time that I started to speak out, maybe I had about 8,000 followers or whatever. And I said, man, I have an obligation to say something because I can reach a lot of people. And so, one of the first videos that I made on social media that was trying to speak to that, I said, this message is for all members of the National Guard. And I asked them to remember their oath, why they raised their right hand in the first place to defend the Constitution and protect the American people, but then also to disobey any future orders. And so, unfortunately, not many people have spoken up. I mean, me and Demi and not many people otherwise. But I do think people are starting to have doubts, and they're starting to have these conversations in private. I've had so many people message me, and it tells me that what we're doing right now is the right thing to do. Somebody has to have the courage to speak out against what's going on. Okay,
and just to add, and Demi, you should chime in on this too. Neither one of you are speaking in the capacity of a service member, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So we're talking personal opinion.
Yeah.
And Demi, I don't know if you had something you wanted to add off the top, or.
I mean, I've spent my career as a squeaky wheel. So when I saw this happening, I thought it was no different. I've been speaking out against this administration for several things they've done to the military, taking out our trans soldiers, taking away sexual harassment protections, going back on things that we've put in for African-American soldiers. And then this was just icing on the cake where I was like, done, going insane now, And I think, as Dylan said, it's our duty, our oath is to the Constitution and to the people. It is not to fascists.
Sure. Okay. And I think just really to frame this for people that are listening, it sounds like what you guys are both grappling with is like the difference between military life in your previous lives and civilian life. And there's big arguments in the scholarly circles about like how much should the military life reflect civil society. And so maybe we're talking about some areas where you think that maybe military life's not adequately addressing important elements in your kind of values, or like how do you think about it from like your personal viewpoint? Because you obviously hit a juncture where you realized that you needed to speak about something, and then here we are. So
I joined the military obviously to pay for college and my pathway out of poverty, but also because I wanted to help people. I did a lot of humanitarian initiatives, and that's just kind of what I feel the National Guard is. It's to be for our community and take care of the people.
So the Trump policy on deploying the National Guard into cities and also the military has kind of maybe brought some of these feelings to the surface where you've both been willing to speak more publicly?
Yeah.
So I think in general, like I've been in for 13 years, 5 of that was on active duty. And especially when I was stationed, even in Germany, like there is just this unwritten rule that you don't talk about politics. If you're gonna bash one president, you're gonna bash them all in the same conversation, because we were gonna try and be apolitical, even though One America News is on the TV in the operating room, and if you're lucky, maybe it's Fox News. But I mean, there is just unwritten rule to not speak out, and even my friends that are still in Germany right now say it's the same way. They don't talk about what's going on with ICE, and that Trump is threatening our cities with the National Guard. But yeah, unfortunately, like there's a point when the activism of this moment is more important to us, and it's something that it doesn't mean that I don't think of my military service in a different way, but this is the way that I protect the American people. This is the way that I defend the Constitution, and it's going against what Secretary Hegseth and President Trump are asking for right now, which is attacking U.S. citizens.
Right, but now technically you're not under any structure where you report to the secretary, right?
I mean, in the National Guard, like we still, we fall under the Adjutant General of our state, and I mean, they still in a long way, he is technically our boss, or they both are.
Okay,
yeah.
But so let's keep it centered on your personal perspective. So
okay, yeah.
So the idea is that you have some differences with policy that's coming from the White House. Okay.
Yeah.
And this is at odds with your like prior military service.
I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily true. I mean, yes, that's true, right? But like being in the military has made me be like this, has made me want to stand up for what's right, has made me be a socialist. It's the biggest socialist group in the country. You know what I mean? And I'm like, how great is healthcare? What if everyone just had healthcare? You know what I mean? Things like that. So I think the military has made us like this. We're kind of just fearless about speaking out at this moment. Like Dylan said, we get a lot of messages of like soldiers who are active duty, National Guard, whatever, saying thank you. The repercussions we get is from MAGA or Republicans who have never served a day.
Okay. And are you like, let's just zoom in on your personal feelings. Mm-hmm. So are you like frustrated with the conditions of our society and how this ties back to military or National Guard occupation in the cities, or?
I'm disgusted with having soldiers in the city or on any city.
And this was not something you would have ever imagined when either of you first enlisted, right?
No.
That like a deployment would be Los Angeles?
Not to our own cities, no.
Or Chicago or Washington, D.C.?
No. I enlisted when I was 19 because I went to college for a year, and I looked at the amount of debt that I had, and I said, there's no way I'm going to go into $80,000 worth of debt just to go to get a bachelor's degree. So that's why I became a combat medic. And I stayed in because I felt, a sense of public service and the idea of defending the American people. Like, those are the things that, were things that I was still interested in, things that were appealing. But no, I never thought that I would be deployed in a city in America. And I mean, the National Guard, they're also trained now to be a backfill for active duty. So you train to fight what they call large-scale combat operations. That's mainly what we train for, is how do we support these large maneuver forces? How do we sustain them medically, or how do we drive them around and get their logistics to them on time? Not, how do we help ICE? It's not what any of us signed up to do.
Okay, and you're referring to the National Guard, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for the National Guard. Yeah.
Okay. Why do you think, like, with what you both know, and maybe we'll get more coffee table discussion here, so so we can really talk about this. But like, why do you think the military separates itself from civil society? Like, why does it have its own culture? Why does it shave your hair off, or why does it control everything? Why do you think that is?
I mean, I think it's a sense of control, and uniformity. If you look at the police, their intake process, it's very similar. If you're too high on it, they don't want you in the, on your testing, if you score too high, they don't want you in the police department because you think for yourself. And if you are too low, then they're like, can we trust you with a weapon, right? The military is kind of similar, and that's why we are put in certain jobs that we're put in. It's kind of based on scoring. But yeah, I mean, we're kind of just controlled to not speak out, to all do the same things and do what they need us to do.
Do you think there is like some argument for separation from military life and civil society? Because we're obviously getting into some of the topics that are important to, especially our age bracket, millennials, whatever you want to call us. But Demi, you brought up sex and gender, the targeting of trans active duty members. Do you have more thoughts on that?
I mean, other than hate, that's solely based on hate to go after transgender soldiers. The fake rhetoric that they put out is that, their soldiers are not ready to fight at any moment. That's not true. Their downtime is non-existent almost. They don't cost the military any more money. If anything, Viagra costs $6 billion a year for Viagra. That's okay though. Also, transgender soldiers have to do whatever tests that we all have to do. And I know 5 trans soldiers, and they are the best people that I've ever met. I would choose them on my fighting team any day over a lot of other soldiers who I've met.
Well, and I think this is one of the misconceptions that the public has, is that there are trans people in the military that are leadership, that have been there for a long time.
A long time.
That work well in the structure. And
I enlisted with a trans soldier, and he just got kicked out with nothing, no benefits, nothing. Did 5 tours overseas, the best soldier. I've never seen a ribbon rack that big, and kicked out with nothing, and has been in for 14 and a half years.
How do you balance out advocacy for veterans, but also dealing with the way the leftist or even the socialist side kind of rejects military service? And obviously we don't get to have these conversations on the ground, even though they're important conversations.
As a progressive, it bothers me because I've run for office before, and people put me as a Republican because I am in the military. And obviously when I go to the military, I'm fighting the entire time, about gun control and social services and things like that. You're hardly a conservative. I know. I don't know who. Yeah, that's crazy. So it's upsetting to me that people have that viewpoint. Again, it's a stereotype
of military service.
Yeah, because a lot of us.
But you guys are both breaking that mold simultaneously.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a new wave that's coming? A new...
I'll let you speak to that.
So, I mean, I think a lot of people, especially, I deployed to Afghanistan. I think a lot of people who have been in a deployed environment tend to be radicalized one way or another. I think radicalized is a strong word, but to where you start to realize that what you were told initially wasn't really true. When I was in Afghanistan, I remember thinking, holy cow, we messed this country up. And it felt like I was just patching holes in a dam that was ready to break, and we felt like we were just doing the best work we could, but it was a losing battle. And unfortunately, like, yeah, now I acknowledge the military imperialism around the world, but there's a reason why I started saying pro-peace veteran in some of my videos online, is because, especially in the younger 18 to 24 leftist crowd, yeah, they don't look at military service as a plus, even though I just look at it like, hey, the military is what made me progressive, because on active duty, you get free healthcare, you get education benefits, they pay for your housing and give you money for food, and
it's easier to finance your home.
Yeah, and so
There's
my thing is, like, why can't anybody get that?
It's way easier to finance your home. I just want to add that again.
Yeah.
It's way easier if you're former military or active duty.
I actually tell people, I put no money down on my home, and that's why I was able to do that. Otherwise, I don't know if I would own a home today.
Right, and the military will finance it in almost any market up to like $900,000.
Yeah,
which is like only for people that have those military identities.
No, exactly, and I mean, something that I've kind of brought up.
You liked some of the benefits, but where you may diverge, and again, you guys have separate perspectives here. It sounds like foreign policy.
Yeah, I mean, and they pick, like we both said, we chose to go in the military to get out of poverty. So that's heavily who they market to. We'll pay for your school. Like, well-income families would never want their kids to do that.
Well, they do. They go to West Point.
Yeah, no, we would never be able to go to West Point.
Annapolis, Maryland.
Yeah, we would never be able to be considered for West Point, because of how we were brought up in our families or our income. So, I don't know what else I was going to say.
Well, no, I'm following you. Is that the reason for joining was driven by a lack, and it maybe filled some of those gaps.
Yeah, I mean, that's why when people like make fun of us for being socialist, I'm like, well, that, like, the military is socialism. It made our lives better,
And there is kind of that like poverty draft aspect that, it gives people a chance to get back to the middle class, where that's literally, I've heard 3- and 4-star generals say this when they're talking about recruiting, that they need to sell that idea that, hey, you can pick yourself up by your bootstraps and get back to the middle class. And
which we would agree is largely true, but then there are some negative consequences of military service, like heavy PTSD, like a super neglect of the mental health. Like in Syria in 2014, because Barack Obama wanted to do intervention. Apparently there was a mission where we used howitzers more than we've ever used them for the period we used them. We used them for 60 days. Some of the howitzers shot out 800 or 900 rounds. The howitzer round leaves the chamber at the speed of sound. So if you have 8 men, usually, sometimes a woman, but if you have 8 people on a howitzer, they're all sustaining a traumatic brain injury every time a round comes out of the chamber. And then, I was hearing stories of people that were having those behavioral issues that are caused by the traumatic brain injury, and the military would give them a dishonorable discharge. And then, we saw like these wars, unfortunately, all these different kinds of wars, we saw the casualties from combat, the deaths were like 7,300 from 2001 to 2020. The suicides are going to hit 90,000 in the next, 6 to 12 months.
They're way larger. I would say, just like also kind of looping back to the foreign policy discussion. I mean, I think, I supported Ukraine when I was in Europe, and I think that is like the greatest benefit of U.S. military imperialism, is that we can help a country that's being invaded by another country. but that's not really how most of it ends up happening. You know, I mean, look at the genocide in Gaza and the fact that we continue to arm Israel as they continue to commit atrocities. And then now with what Trump's doing in Venezuela, that's not the first time that we've invaded a country for oil. He's just doing it more explicitly. And not that we've invaded yet, but I think that's where a lot of us are concerned that Venezuela is headed right now.
Do you think like there will be an uptick of former service members that are more open to like socialistic policies or ways of thinking?
I think part of it is how we organize. There's some groups like About Face, Common Defense, that help veterans organize. I think there's an older one, like Veterans for Peace is another one. So there's a lot of good organizations out there. I think there's a lot of people that, I mean, there's so many people that say, oh, I got out in 2010 or 2015. This is not, you know, what I signed up for, and thank you for what you do. So I hope we see that. And we just got to keep chipping away every day. Because some people, it takes them 90 days, 90 times to hear this. And then finally they'll say, oh, no, I think he does have a point. I mean, there's people who, it's kind of the same thing. Bernie's been saying the same message for decades.
Sure.
And finally, all these people are going, oh, wait, I think Bernie was right. Yeah, we are living under oligarchy.
Okay. Demi, so what does anti-imperialism mean to you, or how does that like inform the way that you think about the world?
I mean, I think right now it's very difficult. That's why I've also said pro-peace a lot recently as well, because I am pro-Palestinian. And being in the military, it is weird to be against war. But I think when you talk to a lot of other veterans or people in the military, they are also against war. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that we, again, have like this weird stereotype that a lot of us like want to blow things up or blow people up or things like that, and it's not like that at all. Mm-hmm. Most of us
actually that's a slim minority of jobs available in the DoD.
Yeah, very
right?
slim.
Very slim.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why when they were deploying people to Chicago or LA, and you're just like deploying random people, it's like they probably were food services, or they were probably like a supply sergeant that is not equipped or trained to do any of that.
Like crowd control.
Yeah.
Like
the
persistent
10-minute
security
the
scenarios.
10-minute crowd control class you had a month ago is not going to help right now. So that's why it's also funny to see in DC all the pictures of the soldiers like cleaning up grass or like raking. It's like, yeah, because what else are they going to do? They're not equipped for anything else.
Yeah, that is an interesting point. So what is anti-war or like pro-peace? Like, how do you think about that?
I think
Dylan's like, all right, give me the microphone. I've been waiting for this question.
I mean,
it's about time you asked.
It's the fact that as the richest country on the planet, we should be the one that is leading peace around the world, that is leading diplomatic discussions, not because it's not just Trump's horrible negotiations with Putin. We've been horribly negotiating with China and Russia and Iran for decades now. And so if we want to turn a corner, we need to get to a point, I want America to get to a point where we show up and people are glad that we're there, which is definitely not the case right now.
Yeah. Which everyone agrees, regardless of your political tendency. Yeah. There is a lot of rejection to American policy, American presence. Mm-hmm. And the whole international system is using the genocide in Gaza as a part of whatever political propaganda to increase or exacerbate anti-American sentiment. Yeah. So it's like real global phenomena.
Because look at the positive things that we did, like USAID. Those are gone now. The good parts of U.S. imperialism are stripped away, and I would argue that we need to turn it on its head. And yes, it's good to have enough of a military that you can defend yourself, but we don't need to be Team America World Police. We need to help our allies and keep them accountable. So I mean, things like these NATO countries investing in their own defense, like that is good. Mm-hmm. and we need to make sure that we have an ally, that we hold them accountable for their war crimes and genocide and apartheid.
Well, I always think about like the anti-imperialism or just these kinds of different strawmans. There's lots of nuances to them. But I always think about, this is my personal perspective, I always think about like anti-war or the idea of pro-peace as good ideas. And I definitely think that we should find less coercive means. We should definitely be nicer to our friends and neighbors. You know, like here, I'll frame it through this, okay? If you study conflict at one of these top 10 universities, they put you come up with this binary. The binary is peace or conflict, okay? And this is where the concept of deterrence sits. So deterrence is actually a vacuum, a theoretical vacuum, and it's either peace or conflict. And the idea of deterrence is like where you hear about, you guys know this, but like force projection, or like any type of like power projection. It can include like some brinksmanship, but then military exercises in the region of the country that you're trying to coerce, etc. But at some point, my opinion is that this is driven by competition and the need for survival. And so I just wonder if we can ever get away from conflict entirely, or if there are still going to be times where, like, say, Dylan, you're elected in your federal seat, you'll have to deal with war more than Demi. But it's like, how will you vote? Is it just like the safety and security of the country? Or is it, you know, does that consideration maybe go out the window in a socialist politic? Because socialists don't talk about military or international security very often.
Well, when I was active duty, I worked on a nuclear weapons base. And I just had so many questions, and that did not go well. But it didn't make sense to me, right? They always chose conflict. And that's why under this administration, continuing to choose conflict within the own country, like, is really weird to me, right? Like, like you said, U.S. Aid that we had everywhere, we're helping other countries. And to think like that we're competing for that, like this weird narrative that because we're not helping other countries now that we're gonna have that money, like, you know what I mean? Like red states are now gonna be better off.
Oh, sure.
That's not true.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now, instead of we're just hurting everyone and hurting ourselves, like we're just making other countries angry at us.
Well, to add to your point, when I was at the Hudson Institute in Washington, D.C. a couple months ago, they were talking about the naval industrial base. And one of the key firms that builds our ships is in Alabama. But guess where most of the shipbuilding is taking place because they can't do it here? India and the Philippines. And these are the people talking about like America first. So I completely agree. It's not like there's like a new abundance of jobs coming to the South because Trump is in office. But like, do the progressive, you know, folks, the progressive candidates think about like security?
I do think something like we do talk in absolutes a lot. And I do think it's important to push for Democrats to be the anti-war party because right now we're uniparty in foreign policy. For all the moderate Democrats and the Republicans vote to go to war every time. When Trump wants to do it, they don't want to say no. They say, hey, why didn't you let us vote on it? Because we would have let you do it anyway. And ultimately, a lot of that is who's profiting from war? It's these defense contractors. It's Boeing. It's Northrop Grumman. It's, you know, countless others. And I mean, I do think it's important to...
It's also foreign countries that profit on in exposure to American defense industrial base.
No, exactly.
From China, obviously at some point before sanctions, Russia. You know, all throughout the Middle East and Asia, we see all these new capital flows that are being announced from the Gulf countries. You know, so like when I think of like imperialism, all too often it sounds like anti-Americanism. So I'm trying to give us an opportunity to kind of dig into that nuance, because is it anti-American to like want America to maybe become a little more isolated or maybe more gentle, or is there something else in the discourse that gets pegged as anti-American?
I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of it's just people who don't think it through enough because yeah, like, I mean, progressives aren't saying we shouldn't have a military. You know, I mean, the argument right now is, hey, let's cut the defense budget by 10% and let's reallocate that funding back to education or healthcare, things that a lot of Americans need. But no, we need enough of a military that's trained well, that can defend America, and then we can help our allies. But ultimately, if the interest is capitalist gain, then it's not a worthwhile cause to fight a war for.
I also think that our budget for the military needs complete reform.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, Elon Musk missed that.
Yeah, crazy.
He missed that one.
He left before he did it.
Yeah.
I mean, I talk about it often, even on the state level. You know, when they're working on aircraft, like a screw can be $1.99 at a hardware store, wherever. But why are we paying $30 for the same screw for the military? That's why our defense is so big. I mean, we're not being taken care of. You should see the food that we are fed on weekends, or if we're fed at all. Or, you know, a lot of our healthcare is cut. A lot of our benefits are always cut. You know, kind of what you were talking about earlier, like what is the price that we're paying as military members? And yes, we have a lot of good benefits, but we also have to fight for them at the same time.
Sure.
You know, my student loans aren't being paid for right now because someone 2 years ago didn't turn in a piece of paper. No fault to my own. So now I have to re-enlist again to get it paid off. You know what I mean? So we do have access to these things, but they make it so incredibly hard to have them at the same time. You know, even other entities that are trying helping, like the CTA gives a bus pass. But to get that, you have to print it. You have to show 5 forms of like military things. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can do that because I'm able-bodied and I'm a young age. But someone older, how are they supposed to be able to do that? And that's kind of like the model of every military benefit almost. That it's, yes,
Tough
you
to
have
get to.
this, but like good luck getting there, you know?
Okay. What, oh, go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, like, we have come a long way, right? Like, but it's still not anywhere close to what veterans deserve. Things like the fact that, you know, we're able to, as National Guard and reservists, pay for health insurance that's like affordable through the National Guard. That is pretty new. And that was only, that was acquired because a bunch of veterans organizations, you know, yelled at Congress until it happened, and lobbied is the word.
Okay.
But
I mean, at some point it's yelling.
Yeah, exactly. And but like, I mean, that's the way for a lot of these things, the GI Bill, but it's not enough. And you see what Republicans are doing. I mean, it's not that they necessarily want to take away veteran services. I mean, some of it they are, but they're also privatizing everything so they can profit off of it. And then it's going to be just as unreliable as most of the things that we've privatized.
Do you think, did you want to add to that?
I mean, I kind of just want to talk about, like, even on Veterans Day just happened. You saw everyone post Happy Veterans Day, their grandpa, their uncle, their brother, whatever. And we got like a meal at a couple places, right? But like the rest of the time, like, what are you doing for veterans?
Sure.
Are you delivering meals? Like, are you helping them get their medicine when we were shut down? I'm the only Democratic veteran running in the entire state.
Right.
If I was elected, I'd be the only woman veteran and Democratic veteran in the entire state.
In Illinois?
In Illinois, yeah. And if veterans are so important to you, then that voice should be important to you.
Yeah.
Haven't heard anything.
Well, and then you're running for state house. There's 128 members in the state house. There's no former military in state house in Illinois.
There's 2 conservatives that vote against military members all the time.
And no Democrat former military.
She is running for controller, so she will not be in the house anymore.
Okay.
So yeah, I would be the only woman and only Democratic veteran.
So it's definitely like a very underrepresented group. And then even further than that, I would say you guys are at the forefront of like maybe a newer politics, newer mainstream politics. Like it's not like a Vietnam protest, right? You all are just actually actively speaking up and kind of drawing on your different framing of your personal perspective and your commitment to the country. I don't want us to get stuck here, and I know we should wrap this up soon, but okay, so this is my question. There's a lot of like the McCarthy era, like post World War II,
Yeah.
drove the Red Scare and a lot of the kind of like anti-socialist framing. And then y'all went into the structure and worked for that structure that is like the core of securitizing that identity in politics. It's like, how do you kind of balance that reality out, that like you are expressing your own politics, which is easier for like somebody that's only been a civilian. And then your politics also is incompatible with the worldview of, you know, your past armed services careers, right?
Yeah, I mean, like we both said, a lot of our politics is derived from our experiences, both in the military and in our civilian lives. And it's not, speaking up right now is not without consequence. With NSPM 7, they've criminalized being a leftist at all, or just a Democrat, really. I mean, anyone that says anything anti-capitalist, anti-American, or anti-Christian can now be labeled as a member of Antifa, even though Antifa isn't a real terrorist organization, you know. But I think it's important to can I swear on here? Or
of course.
Okay. I've been holding on so far. But it's important to call them on their bullshit, you know, because ultimately they're just trying to scare us. It's like you know, what's going on with ICE. I mean, they're doing a lot of horrible things, and ISP has been working with them and Broadview and things like that, and they're trying to scare people to not come back.
Sure.
And so however we can, we need to fight back. And part of it is helping families in your community. Sometimes it's going to the protest. Sometimes it's educating your friends and family about what fascism is and why it is we're living in a fascist time right now. But yeah, I hope I answered your question in there.
You did.
I think a big issue that we have in the country is our education system and the propaganda that's just being everywhere.
Sure.
I seldomly talk with my mom. Like I said, she's schizophrenic and bipolar. But when I do talk to her, she is like down the Fox News rabbit hole. And like and she's Mexican. She was undocumented most of my life.
Sure.
So she was like, they're not doing that. And we see it every day. Obviously, we've all been there, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that, like Dylan said, speaking to everyone that you can. That's all I do when I'm at drill is like try and make like basic preschool like analogies. I probably shouldn't say this, but one time my unit lost a weapon. It was like
okay.
It was like missing. It had fallen off a truck, and everyone started freaking out. Like an hour before this, they were like being aggressive to me that I'm a Democrat and I want to, and I want to get rid of weapons. I'm gonna come with Joe Biden and take their weapons at their house.
Oh wow,
yeah.
That sounds like the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
Matt Walsh, are you there?
So then when that weapon was missing for an hour or so, you know, it was like huge chaos, obviously. I'm like, see why gun reform and safety is so important?
Okay.
Because they're like, what if it gets in the wrong hands? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem.
Oh, did that start a massive debate?
They were angry. I'll do that all the time, though, like about healthcare, about, I can literally make it about anything. I'm annoying to them. So, but yeah, I mean, I think just keep pushing and educating people is very important right now, especially as we are losing books, education. You know, and they're kind of whitewashing everything. You know, that's what they want, is to not have anything exposed to learning and culture. So that's my favorite thing about our country. So to get rid of it is insane to me.
Sure. Do you guys have anything else that you want to add to this conversation? Because I know we're on time constraints. You have to go to Washington.
Yeah.
There are people in the Congress waiting for you. there's a big protest on Friday that we're also covering. I'd assume that you guys will be there.
Yep.
And
Yeah, we'll
doing
be there.
media.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Okay. And I know you have to get your flight to DC in a little bit.
Yeah, like Demi touched on this a little bit, but we get out of this by building community and educating people. And so when I get to Congress, one of the first things that we need to do is get money out of politics, break up corporate and billionaire influence in our economy and in our government, and we need to reinvest so much money into education. And we need to make sure that we build a society that our kids, our grandkids can still thrive in, not just live, not just survive, but thrive in.
Sure.
And I always kind of joke on the campaign that the environment is getting worse and worse every day, but it's not a main campaign issue right now because we're fighting an affordability crisis and we're fighting against Donald Trump. But at some point, we do need to come back and figure out, hey, how do we transition so many jobs away from big oil and things that are killing our planet? How do we transition them to clean energy and things like that? But more than anything, it's worth it to invest in the American people because it will help us succeed in the future. We have no other choice.
Sure.
And going off Dylan, like as two candidates, House and Congressional, we would love to take money out of politics. Unfortunately, that's not how to get the word out. So I'm going to do the annoying thing that we need funding and we need the word out to be able to win and to be able to actually make a difference because, we've had boots on the ground for how many years, and now we finally have a place where we can actually make change for the country and for the better and for working people.
Sure.
So we need funding.
Okay.
So where do we find you?
Yeah, where do we find you?
DemiForIllinois.com, DylanForIllinois.com. Couple dollars helps. We have a small dollar things. We're both 13th district. So
Will we see you guys running for president and vice president?
That would actually be so cool.
President Demi?
Cool, yeah, maybe.
VP Dylan?
That'd be so cool. We'd have really good marketing.
Oh, yeah. Well,
How can you hate the two veterans?
is it hard to keep up with all the digital stuff, and also do all the physical things that are required for campaigning?
Yes, especially as we both have small teams because of funding. So you have to do the traditional phone calls during the day, then the door knocking, then the endorsements. And then because of the new age, you have to make so many videos, which I despise. Dylan loves it and is good at it. I hate it.
Dylan loves his videos.
I mean,
everyone else does too, Dylan.
It's a time to connect with the community, and I hope
Dylan wakes up
in
in the morning and looks at his notifications for 45 minutes.
No, it's really hard. It is really hard. I'm in so many group chats, and
I had to exit a lot of them.
Yeah, you
It's
care
too
less
impossible.
and less. I joked with Demi used to get mad about negative comments, on her videos, and I was
wow.
I was like, you'll get over it.
Some do, some don't.
Yeah, and then some of them you're like, oh, I gotta respond to this guy.
They come up with some new threads. It evolves.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sometimes they get a little too specific.
How do they know that?
No, yeah, I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Whoa.
Whoa.
Are you outside right now?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, it's been awesome to talk to you guys, and I'm sure there will be more, and we obviously hope to talk to you in DC. So,
Perfect.
Thank you.
thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.